Hi, y'all. We're going to do some practice problems together. So stay tuned if you're here for 6 through 10. So this one is number 6 for Algebra 2 and for Accelerated. And we're graphing linear functions, right? So we're going to be on a graph. Linear means straight lines, and they're functions. So if you are honors, on track, star, 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 you can see how many you need to do. So I'll just start with this first one here. It says sketch the graph of each line. So when I'm graphing these, I always want to start with I always want to start by looking to see if it's in y equals mx plus b slope-intercept form, because that will tell me the slope and the y-intercept, okay? So if it's in that format, which I can see y equals mx plus b, right? That if it's in that format, then I'm going to start at the number where my y-intercept is. Right, so since my y-intercept is -3 on the y-axis, I'm going to go to -3. And then my slope is m. My slope, -2, will tell me what to do. Right, so since it's a whole number, it will be over 1, -2 over 1, down 2 to the right 1. We always go to the right. So down 2 to the right 1. Right, down 2 to the right 1. I can see that I'm off my graph, so I'm going to go backwards. So it'll be up 2 and backwards 1, up 2 and backwards 1. So up 2 and backwards 1, like so. Let me go ahead and draw a straight line that goes through all the points, put an arrow on both sides. Okay. If you have one like number 2, where it does not have a y-intercept, remember that the number that represents nothing is 0. So we're going to start at 0, 0, and then we go, in this case, up 5 and over 2. So up 5 over 2, like that. Go down and backwards as well. Okay. If you are getting to some of the more challenging ones, those ones look like number 7, 8, 9, and 10. This is in standard form because we can see that it has the x and the y on the same side. I want to put it into slope-intercept form by solving for y. So if I have x minus y equals 2, I want to get y by itself. So I'm going to take x is positive, so I'm going to go ahead and subtract x on both sides. It's going to leave me with -y equals -x plus 2. Be careful that that y is negative, right? So we want to bring that down as well, which means we're going to have to divide by -1 in order to get rid of the negative. So I would have y equals -x divided by -1 is x, and +2 divided by -1 would be -2. Now it's in slope-intercept form. We can do just as we did before, starting with -2. So I'm going to start at -2. Since there's no slope in front of x, I have it's like 1x, and since it's a whole number, 1 over 1. So up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, right? Keep going all the way to the edge of both sides of my graph and draw a straight line straight through, right? Just like that. Okay? That's number 6. Okay? When you are done with your problems, you're going to scroll to the bottom, click this link, and take your retake. Okay. So for number 7, this is for Algebra 2 and also Accelerated, we are graphing linear inequalities. So we're still graphing. We're graphing lines, and since they're inequalities, we're going to see them like this: greater than or equal to, and then less than and less than or equal to. Right? Remember, if it's greater than, we're going to go ahead and shade up. And if it's less than, we're going to shade down. Remember that if it doesn't have that equal sign, it's the equivalent of an open circle, which means that we are going to use a dashed line. Look at that funny face I just made. Right? If you have greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, that's like our closed circle, remember? And the way that we represent that on a line is with a straight line. So if you can remember those two funny faces, then you can graph them. So I'm going to start by graphing the exact same way that I was graphing my lines. So I'm going to start with my y-intercept, which is +4. And then my slope is -3. And since it's a whole number, it's going to be over 1. Right? So down 3 to the right 1, down 3 to the right 1, down 3, right 1, down 3, right 1, all the way to the edge of my graph. I can go up and backwards, but that would take me off the graph. All right, and then I'm gonna ask myself two questions. Is this dashed or solid? And is this shade up or down? Right. So the way that I know if it's dashed or solid is I look at this sign right here. Dashed or solid, since this one has an equal sign on it, I remember from my funny faces that if it has an equal sign on it, that's a closed circle, which is a closed line. So it's going to be a solid line. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and draw my solid line all the way through. And then I want to know if it's shade up or shade down. So since this says y is greater than, right, the mouth is open to the y, so the y is greater than, right, I want to shade up. So I'm going to go to a point, I'm going to shade up. I'm going to go to a point and shade straight up. 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 That will tell me what side I need to shade. So I can see everything shading on that side. So I'm like, okay, I better shade in the rest of this. Like that. Okay. I'll go ahead and also do number 9 here. Number 9. So if you have this one, we have, it's not in y equals mx plus b, so we want to solve that first. So I want to get y by itself. So I have 3x minus 2y is less than 10. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 3x to move it to the other side. I have negative 2y is less than negative 3x plus 10. I want to keep this in a straight line here. Right. I'm going to go ahead and divide by negative 2. Divide everything by negative 2. Remember that when I divide or multiply by a negative number, right, like this negative 2, I need to switch the sign. So since it was less than, now it's going to be greater than. So I have y is greater than negative 3 over negative 2. I'll leave as a fraction, but I'm going to get rid of those negatives since they cancel each other out. So negative 3 over 2x, and then positive 10 divided by negative 2 would be negative 5. Right. So now that it's in slope-intercept form, now I'm able to graph it. So I'm going to start at negative 5, and it says 3 over 2. So up 3 to the right 2. Up 1, 2, 3 to the right 1, 2. Up 3 over 2, up 3 over 2. I'm going to ask myself those questions again. Is it solid or dashed? So is it closed circle or open circle? I see that it's open circle, right? It's open circle, so I'm going to use a dashed line. You can kind of graph it like this. Dash line all the way to the edges. And then is it shade up or shade down, right? And in this case, we are going to shade up because it's greater than, right? So greater means more means up. So I'm going to go to a point, shade straight up, go to a point, up, point, up, point, up. So I can see, okay, it's this side that is above the x-axis, right? Just like that. So this is how we do number 7. You can see your answers are along the side here. So if I was looking for this one, I would say, okay, here it is, right there, right? So I found my answer. I know that I'm correct. When you're finished with your problems, you're going to go to this link and take your retake, right? So you'll take a picture, take your retake. Okay, that's number 7.